20 years, according to the UN. Thought
Eh,
I'd get an early start.
we'll see about that. I'm not sold.
That's the beautiful thing about the marketplace here in Mexico. There's everything is on the table. They'll sell you anything, including crickets.
I just got a notification. We are live.
Whoops. Are we supposed
That's okay. This is what happens when we don't have Agnieszka with us. I just saw the notification. I was like, I better say something because we're live. Hi, everyone.
Hi there.
What? So, do I do my intro now?
Hold a second. Hold
I
a
would
second.
Shit, I'm just. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you're on the world. Welcome to Raising Excellence, the most valuable 90 minutes of your day. Hello, I'm Michael, the MC and Opportunity Ambassador, and today's show is Ready to Regenerate and Restore. And with me today is my fellow co-host, Willow, our trauma consultant. Willow?
Oh no, what happened to Willow? She froze.
And our freedom facilitator, Dennis. And we'll go back to Willow when she unfreezes.
Blessed love and greetings, everybody. Glad to be with you. While Willow is regenerating and rejuvenating.
Yeah, she's the one that's supposed to be leading this discussion, so it's going to be a little bit interesting for us to be talking about regeneration and rejuvenation. But Dennis, do you got anything on that?
Well, what comes to mind first when I think about that regeneration, rejuvenation, I first want to look in the words again. I know that the R-E in front, that means back, going back, right? And then, so generate, generator, to generate. What does that mean in your vocabulary, Mike?
Well, I'm thinking generation, like generating electricity, so kind of creating something, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Recreating something, I guess, right?
Yeah. So
recreating the person that you are on a regular basis. And I guess that's kind of the natural way things go, right?
Yeah, it's like as if you're speaking the thoughts that run through my head while they run through my head. Isn't that like I thought? Isn't that something that continuously happens in every moment? We on all levels again, like on the physical level, we are continuously our physical body is continuously regenerating itself. There are some organs that do that even like on a monthly basis or even faster. On a daily basis. The cells of parts of our body are regenerating. Really fast and other things like I guess the teeth, for example, they will take much longer time, but still it is an ongoing process of regeneration right there. So my mind is wandering to the other parts, the more subtle parts of our beingness. So if there's a time span specific to our physical parts, our physical body, then how long does it take us to regenerate our thought processes, our emotions, our feelings, about certain things? Isn't there like tremendous potential in the fact that we, at least in theory, have the ability to change our mind, and then also to change the mind or to change the emotional state of those around us? And I think there's tremendous potential, for our own development, but also for the impact that we can have on the world around us with what we do, what we say, what we think even, and what we project outwards from ourselves.
Yeah, and I guess the other word there, rejuvenate, is kind of like to some degree restoring what is inherent within us. Maybe I don't know. I think of I like what you're saying there as far as the to me it feels like every opportunity, every day is a new opportunity to change things. And I'm trying to think of the guy that he essentially was saying along the line that, like every day is a new adventure. Every day is not the same. What we want to really do as far as our life is concerned is really kind of be in that creative state on a regular basis, so that every day is a new day, and that we're constantly discovering new things about ourselves, and that's that sort of stuff. Wish I could remember that guy's name.
Yeah,
In
like
fact,
that.
he's got a website that kind of goes along those lines.
Yeah, like that. It's like the
Go ahead.
being able to, to see things as if you see them the first time. Although you wake up, let's say in the same environment, and you see the same house, the same walls, the same people around you, but to not be dulled down by that to a certain degree, but to retain the ability to see everything like with fresh eyes. I think that's a big thing, really. Because you might
Yeah.
look at the same wall, the same people, the same person's face each and every day, and you might think, oh, it's just the same old. But isn't that also just a projection of your mind? And if you have that influence, if
Oh,
what
please.
is being mirrored in what you see, comes from the inside, and wow, looking with that perspective that comes from the inside, with a fresh view at things, doesn't that also make the world that is mirroring your true inner self, doesn't that refresh the world as well? And to be able to wake up every morning and see things like with fresh eyes and with new like with a new inspiration, so to say, I think that makes life much more exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think there's, if you look at the way that society is kind of geared these days, they want you to be in that same rut where you're constantly doing the same thing over and over again, kind of like a manufacturing or a machine type situation where you're just acting as a cog in the machine. And certainly that's not what we're all about. That's not human nature. That's essentially functioning in somebody else's paradigm. And to me, that's definitely not what you want to do. So, kind of looking at that from the opposite point of view, what would you do opposite to that? Rejuvenate, regenerate,
Yeah. There's
recreate.
they seem to push that whole rejuvenation thing like on the physical level, right? Like, oh, you have to look young, you have to be young, and if you look at TV commercials, oh, your skin, you're this and you're that, and it's so bad, to become physically old. So I feel that we're being pushed, and we're being held, just on that level. But then if that rejuvenation thing, if truly rejuvenating yourself means to be in the moment and to be able to to be life in that very moment, and to not be bogged down by maybe even the notion that what matters the most is the physical appearance of your body, but that truly rejuvenating yourself actually means to have a fresh, a refreshed mind, a look at a view, a perspective at the world that gives you the ability to to change your mind, to change your perception every day and every moment as you choose, as your joy actually, to be guided by your joy. Nothing is more rejuvenating than to be joyous in the moment, and to be worried about outside or superficial things alone certainly is actually doing the contrary, and not making you feel young and lively and happy.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, and this might be a little bit of a tangent, but living here in Acapulco for the time that I have, one of the things that I got a different perspective on is the idea of time. To Mexican time, or Acapulco time, is essentially one in which if you're doing something that you're enjoying, keep doing it, and f everything else. and, and to some degree, if you're an hour late to an event or 2 hours late to an event, no big deal. you know and really, of course, when I first got down here, that was so frustrating to have people like, I mean, almost constantly being late and stuff like that. But then as I like discussed with them the difference in their perspective in time and why it was different, I started to think, like, why do we have to be on time? Why is it so important to be on time all the time? Why can't we just like do like half and half or something like that? And now I'm to the point that, yeah, I do. I have a schedule, so I got things that I've got to be on time, but I do feel like there's a happy medium there where you schedule some of your time for the things you got to schedule your time for, but then on the other side, there's this other opening, which is enjoying your life and understanding that, because like when you're doing something that's fun and exciting, it seems like time just, you lose all kind of perspective on what time is. Oh, let's see here. Right?
Yeah, time flies, isn't it?
Are you? I see Willow might be coming back here. I hit the edit.
Nice.
There
There
you
she
go.
is.
Thank God.
But you know what I was just reminded about when you said, the perception of time, flying by or passing by quickly if you do something that you're really, joyous about and that you love doing. Hey, Willow,
Hey,
you landed.
I don't know what the hell just happened.
Well,
Wouldn't you know it, would happen on a day like today.
Exactly.
We're already like going,
I was
eating crickets over here.
I was just
Yeah.
reminded
You're
about
freezing. Go ahead.
about the German terms, and one is called Langeweile. It literally translated would mean lang is like long, and Weile is while, like a long while, and it means boring. Being bored, boring. And there's a older word which is not really in use again, but if you read really old books, then you will find it, and it's called Kurzweil, and kurz means short, and Weil is again while, so short while, and that's like that's a description of having a good time, having a fun time, and that hints at exactly what you were like highlighting a few moments ago, which is that if you pass, if you're having a great time, then it seems to be really short, but if you don't have a good time, then it like prolongs itself and it seems like eternity. That's interesting.
Yeah. So Willow, you had some prepared stuff for this thing, and we're going to hand it over to you. What do you got?
So actually, what I have is just the definitions of the word rest and the word rejuvenation, because that was the two topics that we were going to talk about today before we got so rudely interrupted by the internet connection. By the way, audience, if you're noticing any buffering or any like lag, please feel free to comment on the YouTube, which is the only one I can pull up right now, and let me know so that we can keep an eye on that. So there were 3 definitions of the word rest, and the first one was to cease work or movement in order to relax, sleep, or recover strength. The second one was allowed to be inactive in order to regain strength or health. And the third is a bodily state characterized by minimal functional and metabolic activities, which I believe that's the medical definition. But I liked that the first 2 definitions, they touch on the fact that it is in order to recover your strength or regain something that you have like expended throughout the day. I think that was like the most important part of, rest and rejuvenation. It is to reset you. It's to bring your body back to a normal, and to regain all of the strength that you have expended throughout the day.
It's a painful reminder of the fact that, well, at least speaking for myself, it is, wow, I can't seem to think of the last time when I was in full rest and rejuvenation, because, as I mentioned earlier, it's not only the physical level, but, it's like, it's one thing to cease physical movement, but then it's a whole different thing to do that on the emotional level and then on the mind level as well, to cease movement there as well and to be completely calm. And
It's funny that you mentioned that because there were a whole bunch of different definitions. Like one of the phrases that it was talking about, like to it's like when you get a definition and then they use it in a sentence. This is how they used it in the sentence, and it said, "I cannot rest upon this premise." And I was like, what does that mean? And basically, it's a synonym for I cannot trust that this evidence is enough. So I found it really interesting that trust is actually a synonym, or it's something that is very commonly associated with rest. Like you don't rest unless you trust that you can. You don't rest in an unsafe place. You don't get comfortable. Your body actually won't allow itself to relax until you feel like you can trust your environment and you can trust what's going to happen. This is why a lot of trauma survivors often have a trouble sleeping. Even if some of their trauma didn't happen at night, they could just have trouble sleeping because their body can't ever fully relax.
that's a super important point right there, that the environment, and to my mind comes again, it's not only the physical environment, but it's also the environment, let's say of the people, of the company that you're keeping in terms of the people, then of the company, of your feelings, of your emotions, and of your thoughts that you're keeping as well. That will certainly impact your ability to go into a deep state of rejuvenation and of rest.
Another definition or usage of the term rest was actually in replacement for peace of mind. So like I need to get some rest could mean be like I need to get some peace of mind. I need to just not be doing this anymore just for a little bit and clear my mind.
So you mean that it would actually be possible to do, let's say, even a mundane, maybe continuous action, I don't know, like raking the leaves in the garden, carrying water, whatever it is, and still be in a rest and rejuvenation state, because you would have put your mind in that state that will allow it to have peace of mind.
Exactly. So I'm not sure if it's just my connection. It could be, but according to the YouTube, I just now popped up on the video. And I've been here for like what, 5
There's
minutes?
a little bit of a delay.
Okay, I just want to make sure that our audience can hear it and it's going, because if it's not, then we have issues. Doesn't matter if we can see it or not. It matters whether our audience is able to access us. Although I do love the comments from Roz. She says, "Get autonomy and regenerate your mind," which I think is a great slogan. And she's saying that we are doing great. Or we did great.
Okay.
So
Great. Thank you, Roz.
Nice one.
Appreciate the support.
I'm sure
Colleen gave
Ross,
us a thumbs up.
nice one. I'm sure Ross has a lot to say from the crystal and stone side of things. What could be used and what could be done from that side to support a restful and rejuvenative state. What do you guys use to get into that state?
It's funny that you mentioned rocks.
Oh,
go ahead, Mike.
Ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say shoot, never mind. Go ahead with the rocks.
I actually incorporate some rocks, especially if nothing else is working. Let's say my breathing exercises are not working. I smoke a little bit of cannabis. That's not helping. I often will turn on music, specifically a mental kind of like a frequency music where it's not words, it's not lyrical, it's not even instrumental. It's just mostly like frequency sounds. If none of that works, sometimes I will look up whatever stones are to help promote sleep or to get rid of panic attacks or, just make you feel a little bit calmer. And I'll go get those in a lot of cases. And I think, to be honest, just the feeling, the weight of them in my hands, sometimes maybe it brings me back into my own body and allows me to be a little bit more present as things are going on. Maybe it's just something to hold on to. Like, I really don't know if the stones themselves are having an effect, but it does help.
Well, I think, when it comes to modern technology and just modern living, it seems like everything is kind of designed to like almost create some anxiety, and I think there is certainly something about anxiety that makes people a lot more controllable. But if you think about all the different things, like to me, I don't have a smartphone, I don't have a cell phone, I don't like the beeps and buzzes and all that kind of stuff. I don't play that. I don't even play it on my normal computer, although I think there is something with Discord that seems to be thwarting me as far as getting rid of that buzzer sound. But all those things do kind of create that unrestfulness, I think. And man, when I'm away from it, it feels so much, in nature, even better. You know, it just seems so much more peaceful and restful. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I would agree. I turned my phone off. I have a do not disturb setting on my phone, and I had to start setting that. There are only, I think, 3 people who, if they text me in the middle of the night, their phone call will go through. No guarantee that I'll wake up, but at least because the other messages, since they're not going through, I'm not constantly being bombarded with this through my sleep. It's improved my sleep significantly, I'd say. Roz says that in Australia, there is loads of buffering and lag on the video.
Okay.
Do you think we should?
That might be our internet provider too.
Yeah,
What
true.
do you think we should do?
Well, it's also doing the same thing for me. It's like buffering every couple of seconds. Someone else just said buffering, like with extended letters. So we should probably hang this call up and give it another try.
Well, what do we think is the problem? Do you think you can reconnect? Do you think it's your service, Dennis? It's the problem? Because I know we were a little bit iffy on whether the service would provide a constant stream.
Yeah.
But it does seem to be working on your end, right?
Yeah, like all seems fine for me still. Maybe we just wait for if we can get another 1 or 2 comments or feedback. I'm not sure, but I also don't really have the expertise to be able to tell you how things are going from this way, other by judging from what I can see.
We could cut off the video and see if that works.
Oh yeah, we can try that.
You want to just do without the video for a few and see if it unbuffers or if it. I'll turn my video off.
Yeah, I'll turn mine off and I'll jump in the chat and see if anyone, if that helps.
Mm-hmm.
But this is gonna be kind of boring to watch, to say the least.
This is true.
The voice is out of nowhere.
Just close your eyes and listen, and we'll do some really pleasant talking. How about that?
Can you do like a guided rejuvenation tour through Acapulco?
There you go. There you go. I want you to close your eyes.
You have the best voice for it.
In and then out.
Actually, yeah, my whole body just started breathing in and out, like the inhale and exhale, and I was like, wow, that was interesting.
I could hear the sea in the background already. I can feel the beach.
Like waves lapping onto the shore. All right, let's get into a little bit of this restfulness and this regeneration. So you have the definition for the other word, which was regeneration or rejuvenate. Yeah.
Rejuvenate was the actual word. The ation at the end of it actually just means a state of. So any of these, if you just, a state of, add that to the definition and you get rejuvenation. So it says rejuvenate means to make young or youthful again, to give a new vigor to, or to restore to an original or new state.
Lovely. Yeah, while you were gone, we kind of went on a little discussion about that particular thing. Who knows if anybody could hear it, but maybe Roz did.
Maybe.
I don't know. Is anybody seeing this? Is anybody feeling better about what we're
I'm
bringing
still
across?
waiting on a response because according to the video that I'm watching on YouTube, we still have our video on. So I'm still waiting for that to click off because I would like to see if it actually shows our meeting ID and our Zoom room link instead of like just a blank screen. Agnieszka's gonna have a fit when she watches this. She's just gonna be like, I can't ever take a day off. I hope she's not watching now.
The quality of the show is declining rapidly without her.
Oh, she's gonna come back and be like, I was gone for 1 day, y'all. 1 day. That's all I asked.
Oh man.
Well, laughter is certainly rejuvenating, right?
Well,
So we are on
apparently we are funny because we have 4 people still watching us. I don't know how.
I hope they're not just watching to document the disaster.
So I have Slava Desanti
That's
saying,
Shandavi.
okay. They're saying iguana. What does that mean?
Those are animals with long tails that live. No, I'm sorry.
Iguana?
Yeah.
I was saying
seen a couple of
iguana
those.
with a Q, not a G.
I know, I can see it.
Maybe you just misspelled it. Who knows?
Oh, okay.
All right. So, like, what about sleep? Willow, you've had a battle with sleep. I actually battled with sleep myself for a while. I had a motorcycle accident back in I think it was like 2013 or something, and I kind of like split the cartridge cartilage between my ribs,
Ooh.
and it took forever to heal. I mean, it probably only healed like a couple years ago, finally. But every time I would go to sleep, it would start hurting and then just keep hurting, and then it would be like a stabbing pain, and I'd have to wake up and move around a little, and then I could go back to sleep. But it essentially kept me from sleeping in anything more than 3 or 4 hours. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, that was pure hell.
I bet, because the sleep deprivation, I mean, at least, so what I can say about sleep is if you're having trouble sleeping, if you can get a REM cycle in, or 2 REM cycles, which is about roughly an hour and a half, you're doing better. Like, it's not going to fix everything, but it will help. Like, you won't, I don't know if you've ever woken up from a nap where you feel like 10 times worse than you felt when you went to sleep. That's the reason that happens is because a lot of times you're woken up in between your sleep cycle, and your brain has to like drop, it has to like float up through a bunch of different levels of sleep to be able to fully wake you.
Yeah, and there is quite a few different ways that you can sleep. I know that, like Tesla, he actually kind of put himself in a trance, and he would sleep for like 40 minutes every like 5 hours, and that was enough for him. But he would go, like, he had trained himself just to go right into like REM sleep as soon as he closed his eyes, and then 40 minutes later, he'd be totally rejuvenated.
Wow.
And I guess they call that what's the word? But there's like people that sleep 8 hours a day, and there's people that sleep like 6 hours, and then like the Spanish with the siesta. So they have like a, I don't know, it's not bipolar, but
By sleeping
yeah,
pattern.
yeah. And then there's like Tesla, who like would sleep like 4 times a day for 40 minutes a day, or 40 minutes a episode. The description fails me at the moment. I'm going to look it up though.
Well,
I
the
know
whole-
that sleep is incredibly important for the actual rejuvenation, the bringing back to an original state, which is a homeostasis for the body. If you're not getting sleep, you literally don't have the energy to deal with anything else. Part of your body will, like, all of the energy that's put into cognitive functioning goes into functioning your body, making your body actually function. Sleep deprivation is insanely what's the word, not the decapitate, it's I can't think of the word. It's where it diminishes your ability to function.
It's used in torture as well.
Yeah, it's also used in basic training for boot camps for the military. And
yes, definitely. I can talk a lot about that.
it's, oh, my mind is just like blanking on all of the different things that sleep deprivation can cause, which is really strange because I have dealt with sleep deprivation since I was 7 years old, since I've ever had narcolepsy. So they say that problems with buffering is still persisting.
Yikes. Oh boy. Well, I guess we can turn our videos back on.
I suppose so.
At least that didn't change anything.
You say maybe we should go offline and just record it and then post the remainder later.
What the word I was looking for is polyphasic sleeping. So
Okay.
more than one phase. So single phase, biphasic, polyphasic sleeping. That's what Tesla did. And I guess there's quite a few others. I think Edison and some of the other inventors and stuff like that, they had a strange polyphasic sleeping pattern themselves. So there is something to that. I've tried. I always liked when I went to Spain way back in the 80s. I love that siesta. You know, of course, in the military, you never get enough sleep. So I love sleep anyway. But
For sure.
It seemed to me like the people were just so much like friendlier because they had plenty of sleep, you know.
You're much more able to your cognitive functioning will improve the better sleep you're getting. Meaning you're gonna think clearer. You're not going to be triggered into a fight or flight near as quickly. Man, my brain is just like blanking out so bad today.
Without Agnieszka, we're all just like a bunch of bumbleheads at the moment.
Who knew?
Well, we know
Who knew we relied?
We know we know who keeps the whole thing together now. Huh?
Well, the whole topic of sleep itself, that really deserves a show by itself, isn't it? Because there's a lot to say about that. You know, there's and you know, even just looking at nature, like here we're going into autumn right now, so that's when nature to an extent also goes to sleep, at least, you know, right here where I am. So, you know, if you look at the plants, if you look at the animals too, so everything is, you know, slowing down, you know, how you was like tightening up, you know, crawling back inside the earth, or, you know,
Bears are going into their caves to hibernate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The juices within the plants and the trees, you know, like going back to the stem, and So and that is really part of the natural cycle of life, right? So it's always there's an expansion where things just go out and shoot out, which is springtime again, and then there's time also to, what is the English word for it? The contrary for not expansion but
Contract.
Contraction, right? And that's
So our
necessary.
comment section just went wild. I've realized that the lag is so bad that they're about 5 minutes behind us. So anything that we're asking our audience, it takes about like 3 to 5 minutes for them to even get it, because I just started getting messages about, Roz says it does seem to help without the video. Shambhavi said ciao. I think she's taking off.
Okay, that means it's not going well.
Roz says rose quartz and smoky quartz promote relaxation, which I can confirm those do. Those are two of my favorite to go to. And Colleen confirmed that yes, it was showing the meeting ID page. Then apparently Shambhavi can hear it. Tyler Bloyer says that it seems good. They can see and hear us. And then there's some disagreement on whether the video is on or off for some people. So, but we just probably had like 15 comments all at once just pop through.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. People are coming in, tuning in. Thank you so much for taking the time and trying to help us out here with this situation that we're in.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with our audience. Like, I did not expect. We actually have 5 people watching now instead of 4. So we've gained. Maybe we need to mess up more often. Seems to be amusing to people.
All right, so we kind of covered a little bit of the sleeping thing. Is there anything else about rest or relaxation or rejuvenation in regard to that area? I don't want to get too down into sleeping and that kind of stuff. But
what besides
areas that we want?
Yeah, what besides the sleeping factor does make you feel rested and rejuvenated? Like when you think about times in your life.
Lack of stress, right? A lack of stress is certainly one of those things. Going to nature is definitely another thing. You get out in the woods for a half hour, boy, you feel great, in my opinion.
Well,
Getting out on the water.
The second definition says allowed to be inactive in order to regain strength and or health. So if you take this to a psychological level, being allowed to not have to worry about anything, to not have to figure anything out, to contemplate a problem, to find a solution, allowed to just be. That's taking a step back from any sort of issue. And I think that people should do this at least once a day. Today I had, one of those days where I was just like, I wish that I had a second just to take a step back and not deal with all of this right now. Because I noticed that once you take a step back and you're like, okay, I'm just not going to allow myself to proceed with this issue for 5-10 minutes, however long you want to choose. When I do go back to pursuing this issue and pursuing a solution, my mind has more to work with. It's like I get to see things from not a stressed out point of view. I really think that stress, I know stress increases certain chemicals in your body that trigger certain actions to happen or certain, neural pathways to be triggered. And if you allow yourself to rest mentally, to take a step back, you're going to be able to see the situation with just a little bit more clarity than you did before.
So the prefix, the the going back, and that's really what comes up for me is, so it's to go back from physical activity to, like the physical state of you just said sleep or relaxing, of not doing anything physically. And as you just said, there's a whole mental aspect as well, where you then would withdraw, maybe, if I can say it like that, from mental activity, and you go back to that which was before the mind even came into play. And you just like we had the metaphor of nature, going back into this state of where a part of us is asleep, but then while that part which we, maybe identify with, or which we think we are, and which is what stresses us out, and which is what keeps us, being afraid. Some people, they would take fear, they would as equal, like they would equalize fear and stress. So it basically, to me, then it sounds like, oh, so when I'm rejuvenating, when I'm really in a restful state, that means I'll detach from my body. I let my body rest. I detach from the feelings, and I go beyond. I go back to that which is before even feelings come into play, before even thoughts come into play, and I go back to that place which is there as well, which comes before all of that, and then I remember that, oh, hold on, there's actually somewhere deep inside of me that is not stressed, that is not full of fear, that is not exhausted, even though my body might be totally exhausted, even though my mind might be totally stressed out. But at that same time, in that same moment, there is a possibility of going to that space which is not affected by all of that. And this would be, what I seek when I go into that awareness, into connecting with life, regardless if I try to enter that awareness while doing like a vigorously physical activity, or while, I don't know, sitting relaxed under a tree somewhere in nature. But I feel we have that opportunity at every time, at every moment. It's just, for us to remind ourselves of that there is this state that is beyond all the hustle and bustle of the day-by-day life, that we can actually enter, almost regardless of where we are, whether we're peeling bananas, or we are in a bus, or like in a crowd, or whatever it is.
Well, I recall there's a study, and I think it's Israeli judges, and they're like deciding people's parole, and like the chance of you getting parole is based on like when you get your case scheduled in front of the judge, because when he starts out at the beginning of the day, it's about 80% that you're going to get parole, and then by the time he's at lunch, it's like 20%, because he's like tired of listening to people, and so then after lunch it goes back up to like 70%, but then by the time dinner rolls around, it's back to like 20% or something like that.
Wow.
And so like they essentially, like if you schedule more breaks in your day, you're more likely to have a more attentive and energetic understanding of like what you're doing in your job and so forth. And so just having a break is certainly useful for people that are in high intensity type work, that you need to take breaks often if you're going to maintain a high level of proficiency.
This even it applies to self-work, especially shadow work, which is acknowledging the darker parts of yourself, the parts of yourself that you don't like, that you don't even want to admit that you can be like that. I experienced this. I was when I realized that I had to deal with some like sexual abuse that was in my past, I started watching documentaries, movies that portrayed it in a an accurate light. Like, what are the symptoms? How do people act? How do what are the other stories that other people have experienced? I watched so much of that I was getting sick. Like, my stomach was actually getting nauseous, and I realized at that time my spiritual diet, like my diet that I was taking in intellectually, was nothing but this sickening content that, while I needed to address it, I was getting too much of it at once, and it was making me physically sick. So I was like, all right, I'm done, but I also can't sleep. I can't just relax. So what am I going to do? And I just put on Harry Potter. And I was like, okay, why is Harry Potter helpful? And it's because I've seen every single movie. I know exactly what's going to happen. I don't have to stay awake during it. I know, like, it's very predictable. And the music in it is very melodious, I think is the right word.
Melodious, yeah.
We were doing so well with the buffering. It hadn't buffered in a while, and now it's starting to buffer again. Shambhavi is letting us know that we are having problems with the topic and a laughing cry face, and asking if we were all sleep deprived. And this is probably true. It's fair criticism. We appreciate your honesty, Shambhavi.
Well, that would be a great
Well,
great tip, right, for people, like, so if you would have to, count somebody, say, oh, like the whole rest and rejuvenation, how do I do this, like on a straight down to earth level? It's like, okay, like get enough sleep. So sleep until you don't need no sleep, and set whether it's a few hours, a few days, a few weeks, or just 1 days aside, and just focus on doing nothing. And that's really harder than what it sounds like, because if you're accustomed to, I don't know, have your phone and have all the media and have things occupying your mind and your body like 24/7 almost, it seems, then just to actively say no and shut off everything and put yourself in a place where there's no disturbance whatsoever, that's actually, that's nice for the first few minutes or few hours maybe even, but that point does come pretty quickly when you actually get, I guess you can almost call it withdrawal syndromes, where you then feel like you're missing out on something. You feel like you have to check this and you have to call that one and you have to know and find out, and then your mind really tries to get you out of that situation. And that's really interesting to just observe yourself in that situation. I think that is something tremendously healthy that a lot of people actually should be, maybe all of us should be doing on a regular basis, to really just stand back and give ourselves and treat ourselves to that kind of rest and rejuvenation, where we're not surrounded by people, where we don't have the feeling or the need to do anything, where you might have even people providing food for you, or and just make sure nobody can call you, nobody can even like ask you a question, or your attention is being taken up by anything, by your phone ring, by your computer.
I'm ready to start now, honestly.
Yeah, there's no book reading, there's nothing to do, nothing to think about, and then just see what happens there.
You don't even really have to take it to that extreme. I'd say find what works for you. If you have trouble just laying in bed and not having anything to distract yourself at all, think about what you're distracting yourself with. If you're distracting yourself by playing video games 24 hours a day or watching TV, that's my thing, is I like to watch TV, and I will distract myself for days on days with the TV. If doing nothing is too difficult for you, just do a little less than what you're doing. Don't abdicate your obligations. Don't stop cooking dinner for your family if they're depending on you, but maybe instead of cooking that elaborate meal that you really wanted to cook for everyone, make it a mac and cheese night. It's not going to kill you for one night. Like, you need to plan times during your week that you can relax just a little bit.
Yeah, there's different approaches, right? You can do the
Go ahead.
full 100 change, like right there and right now, and then of course if you change everything, or if you do like a huge move, then you will see the repercussions of it basically right away. So you will have a quick feedback, because if you change everything in your life, that it will be mirrored pretty quickly as well. While that for maybe most people, this takes like a huge effort. This takes a lot of energy, and then also some people, they will flip back quite easily. Whereas you might have the approach that Willow you just suggested, which is do a little bit here and there, and then slowly increase it, but do it habitually, make it a habit, and then over time, you kind of focus on slowly changing things around. And I think it depends. It's a highly individual thing. What our tendencies are, and what our past is as well, and what we can deal with. And I think both approaches are valuable. And each and every one is just left to experiment and try it out. But the worst thing is to not try anything at all. So go ahead and see what feels great for you, and whether you do a little bit today, or you change your life dramatically tomorrow, there will be how would you say, like repercussions. Basically, there will be waves that you're sending out, and then you can observe if it's something, you know, valuable, something good or not, and then, you know, just continue with your experimentation on life, so to say.
You know, I think there's, you know, in that regard, and you know, kind of one of the things that I'm doing with the ethical emergence course is kind of introducing people to their strengths and certainly things that they like to do, and kind of creating the opportunity for them to schedule those into their daily, you know, habits and practices. And you know, just even 5 minutes of doing something that you like to do, like maybe you wanted to read a book or you know, investigate your vacation or whatever it is, but just scheduling the time to do that. And even if it's a small amount of time, like 5 or 10 minutes, it can be enough to take you away from all the other pressures and stresses and all the other stuff that you're encountering, enough to really create that rejuvenation that, you know, makes you feel better, gives you more energy, returns you to work with you know, a better frame of mind.
I think a tremendous shortcut also is joy, you know, tapping into joy and actually, you know, make it a habit to dream and to put yourself even just in the mental state of joy, and like, or figure out like, what is it, what would I enjoy right now doing, you know, what would give me the most joy, whatever. And even, you know, if you can't physically do it, or so, just put yourself in a mental state and just dream and make that a daily habit. And that I feel is a very valuable technique that you can use to to rejuvenate yourself, because it starts in the mind basically. And you know, when you have fun, when you're having a great time, you know, by yourself, then that will radiate out, that will attract circumstances and people that will then just reinforce it, and you know, keep you on the joyous things of side of life, so to say.
Dennis, when you say dream, are you talking about like daydreaming, like during the day when you just kind of take a minute and kind of go off into imagining something going on? Or are you talking about dreams when you're sleeping?
Well, when I talk about dream, then I mean the ability that most of us have lost. You know, when I think back of my childhood, or I observe children, sometimes it seems like you could, like, you know, it's called daydreaming, I guess, like when you know, gaze off in the days away, and then, you know, like children are being ridiculed for
Yeah.
that, or in school, or that's what you're not supposed to do. But that is really when so much is happening inside of you, in your brain, when you're, you know, projecting and you're seeing things, and when you, that's really like shaping your
Yeah.
reality in itself. And I just feel that that state, you know, however we may call it, that is a state that we should really you know, try to manifest as much as possible, and try to dive into it. And you know, if you become a little more proficient in it, I think it is mind blowing what actually can be achieved through that. And you're tapping really into the power and into the potential that you have to literally shape your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that goes into learning how to visualize and all that kind of stuff, and really, you know, what is in your head, what you're thinking about on a daily basis is what you're manifesting in your life. And certainly being more cognizant of what those things are and how those things you know, really kind of occur in your life will make a difference in the actual experience that you're having. And certainly daydreaming, I think, is one. You know, I've always had a problem with meditating, but I've never had a problem with daydreaming. I daydream like crazy, and of course that always irritates a lot of people, but the hell with them.
I had the same issue. I never really understood the process of meditating or what it was supposed to feel like, and but I've always been really, it's like super easy. Like, I'm not kidding. I can have a conversation with someone, and in my mind I'm daydreaming, but I'm also carrying on a conversation. And every time they stop talking, it's like the daydream just continues. Like, it just starts where I left off. It's really strange.
Yeah.
I feel another
Yeah,
top.
that's some great visualization skills. Go ahead, Dennis.
Um, Another thing that I find is a valuable um, path of entering, the rejuvenation and resting state is through spontaneous action. To be spontaneity. So, and that's what children really are as well. So children is okay if you think about young, going back into a young state. So that's our physical state when we're young, and there's no no mind, okay, I'm going to do a plan 1 2 3, even just trying to explain to a young child, okay, we're going to first do this and then this and that is like, it's difficult for them even to grasp it, to hold on, because there's so much in the moment. And sometimes I have to pull myself back, because it's like, no, he's in the moment right here right now, he's just acting, he's getting impulse. And I don't even feel I should be trying to schedule the afternoon, or tell him, oh, we're gonna do first this and this and that, because there's so much there's so much power into being able to be spontaneous. And I feel that's what we lose a lot as well. Even so, with our modern technological ages, we have a calendar here and we have this set up there. And I'm not saying it's not good to have a plan, it's great to have a plan, but then how the saying goes, like, you want to make God laugh, tell him about your plans. So it's good to retain that ability of being spontaneous as well, because that's what also brings you back into the moment. If you have like a desire within yourself, or like an idea, to have the freedom really to act spontaneous, to act upon that which really comes to mind.
Well, and I think that's also useful in the kind of predictive programming society that we've got, where people that, like the data collectors and stuff like that, say they can predict what you're going to do before you know what you're going to do. Being unpredictable, being spontaneous is a way to really kind of thwart that whole program. And, if you do it regularly enough, you're not only going to thwart their program as far as predicting what you're going to do, but you're also going to find new things about yourself that you probably wouldn't otherwise have known about. So doing new things, doing different things, actually introduces you to new skills and abilities that you wouldn't otherwise take note of.
Yeah, and that's a strategy to turn things around, isn't it? Like, we are aware of the fact that we're being watched and there's cameras all over the place. And, so that is what limits your spontaneity. That's like, oh, well, even if it's just subconsciously, but Opa, if I do this, if I go there, there's this camera, there's that one watching, and now I'm on TV, and now, a bunch of people. And that is what makes us predictive. But we can turn that around to an extent if we become aware of that, inside the awareness of being watched, having cameras, and being under supervision almost 24/7, it seems. Then let's take that circumstance and focus, and let us be motivated through that to focus even more of be in the moment and be spontaneous, although we are under that kind of pressure. And then I think that makes it an even higher quality, because we're then acting spontaneously, but we do it out of awareness. So it becomes not something that bogs us down, but it becomes something that motivates us actually to overcome that circumstance.
Absolutely. Willow, it's your turn to contribute.
That was just so much information that my mind is still processing.
See there, process some more. Laughter. We're just laughing. Right there. That's another way of entering the rest and digest state, if I may call it that. Because that's, when you laugh, you're in the moment, you enjoy yourself. You can't worry and laugh at the same time. That's difficult. And like the laughing itself, that's another topic for an entire show, I believe. But what that does, to your body, to your emotions, anyway, and to your mind as well, that's really tremendous. So to keep yourself laughing is certainly a good idea as well for rejuvenating.
I made a connection just now. Someone told me one time that laughter, like when you're holding someone down and they're like, no, stop it, please, just leave me alone, and they're still laughing as you're tickling them. That's actually a form of panic. Your body is panicking. And it made sense a little bit, you know, because I've laughed in very uncomfortable situations, and I always wondered what is this protective measure? Why is it doing this? And the other day I was talking to you, Mike, about how animals in the wild, like not human beings, because we are animals as well. We're just a different species. Animals in the wild, when they experience something traumatic, like let's say one of their litter mates is literally murdered, like just torn apart right in front of them.
An eagle comes and takes off with their child or their baby bunny.
Yeah, you know, there's trauma that happens on the daily in the wild. And these animals have to have a way of coping with it, and not just like stuffing it down in their mind until it bugs them later and they develop PTSD. They have to deal with it in the moment. And what this lady said, I think her name is Dr. Judy Ho. And I won't even know if we're actually. I bet